Welcome to AFMC TV. I'm Robin Linder.
The goal of that is to maximize people's quality of life, right?
You want to make sure that your housing is affordable in your community.
We have to think about vaccines in a way that we haven't thought about them before.
I had a lot of the legislative adults to were very creative.
Down on the floor and play with their kids.
AFMC TV, thanks for watching and have a great day. Welcome to AFMC TV. I'm Robin Ledbetter. Thank you for joining us. Today I have with me Toronsa Simpson. She is a nurse practitioner for CARTI specializing in urology. Toronsa, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
So can you start by sharing the most common urological conditions you see in women and how prevalent they really are?
Well, one of the most common things you see is urinary leakage. Urinary leakage is a very common, as we age, things, hormone loss, we don't produce as many hormones. And so with that, we end up with pelvic floor weakness and leakage. So I would say urinary leakage incontinence is one of the biggest things we see.
And why do you think women's urological health is often left out of a broader women's health conversation?
Well, if you think about it, what do we go to the gynecologist for? We're having babies, we're getting breast exams and getting our routine evaluation. And nobody thinks about it. I mean, I don't think that anyone thinks about it initially. It's not a problem that is on the forefront. And they're shame. I mean, who wants to tell a 50-year-old person would want to say, I'm urinating on myself. When I sneeze, I leak. It's a little embarrassing.
So there definitely is a stigma. You see that a lot with patients.
Oh, definitely. You kind of have to pry it out of them.
So what do consequences look like for those patients that deal with incontinence? Is it something that long-term can affect their care?
Well, if you think about it, yes, because what happens is if you're having incontinence, but you haven't mentioned it, right? So when you sneeze, you feel you're leaking in your underwear, and some women will tell me they feel like something has fallen, like there's something has fallen. And over time that gets worse. Well, you don't seek treatment for it. Then finally one day you have a provider who is kind enough to say, hey, are you having any other issues? Do you limit, for example, a woman will say, I don't drink a lot. I just kind of limit how much fluid intake. That's a key cue that something's going on. Why are you not drinking fluid? Why are you limiting your fluid intake? Well, most of the time it's because they're afraid they're going to urinate on themselves. They've got a bigger issue there. And so over time, they don't address it. Well, if they've got pelvic floor dysfunction or even pelvic floor prolapse, bladder prolapse, it gets worse over time. And eventually it's so bad that, because we gain weight, we lack hormone, there's a lot of things that happen. And they end up requiring surgery or maybe even a pessary, which is a temporary device that we can insert in to hold the bladder up. So yes, I mean, there are some issues that if we don't address them in the forefront, then there could be, worsening issue there.
Are there generational or cultural differences in how women approach talking about urology issues?
Oh, definitely. Depending on the education, how you were raised, right? Your educational background. A lot of women, especially older women, they think that it's something it's part of life and you don't talk about it. Because when you start discussing urinary issues, with that comes sexual issues, sexual health, and they're ashamed. And a lot of women think that because they're leaking, they think that's, it's unattractive. They're embarrassed.
And what strategies can healthcare providers use to create a safe, non-judgmental environment for patients to open up about these issues?
You want to be empathetic for sure. And, your questions, something as simple as, are you having any problems? Are there any bladder issues that you want to talk about? I'll ask a lot of my women, are you sexually active? And when they say no, I'll ask them why. And sometimes that brings on the complaints of, well, I'm leaking or it's painful. they'll start telling me different things.
So, how important is language choice, and communication style, and breaking down barriers for women to seek care?
Oh, it's extremely important because you want to be kind, you want to be gentle, because it's been a lot of women feel like when it comes to sexual health or urologic issues, it's all for men. It's only important for a man. No, you want to be gentle. You want to make sure you're asking the right questions, such as, are you having any urinary issues, bladder issues? Are there any concerns that you would just like to talk to me about as a woman? I literally will say that to women. And I've had them have their spouse or whoever's with them step out just to be a little more comfortable. And so you just have to know your audience, know your patient, and put yourself in their shoes. What would you want? How would you want? What would it take for you to bring up an issue like that?
What are some subtle cues, like red flags, that providers can watch for that might indicate a patient is struggling and not speaking up about this?
Well, one of the main ones I think we've kind of already talked about is when patients tell me that I don't drink a lot of water. Well, I'm like, well, why don't you drink? Because if I go to the store, I'm going to leak. Or when they tell me that they're not sexually active. Well, do you want to be sexually active? Is there a reason? I'd like to, I just don't. And so we take that conversation further. And just body, what would I say? Body cues. There are body cues. Some patients are very standoffish. They're there, they want to talk to you, but it's like they're fighting to get it out. I don't know how to explain it, except it's difficult for them to say. It's like I'm pulling. And those patients, they have issues that they just are embarrassed to tell.
And how can providers work with community partners to raise awareness and normalize conversations about women's urology?
Partnering with churches. I literally speak I'm a part of the health ministry at my church, and I speak to women about bladder health and the effects of menopause on bladder health. So partnering with churches, even like physical therapy, pelvic floor therapy, you can partner with them. And we have an excellent one here that we work with closely that helps us with women and their issues, urological issues. Primary care providers, dealing with them, they're very helpful. They refer patients over. So we can, and they can educate them and send them our way to take care of them.
So in close, if you could give one piece of advice to healthcare providers watching today about supporting women's urological health, what would it be?
It would be pay attention to your patient. Have an open door policy and let your patient know, hey, this is an open door policy. This is your time. It is all about you. I don't care what it is. This is your time. This is your space. Head to toe, talk to me. It's okay. Make sure they're comfortable. Make sure they know that, look, I tell my patients, you're my person. I'm your person. You're my person today. This is your space. Let's have it. So make them very comfortable.
Well, Toronsa, thank you so much for sharing this important information that has so much stigma and so much shame involved. I appreciate you talking about how we can make this better for all patients, all women, for their future health. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's it for this episode of AFMC TV. Thanks for watching and have a great day.